We set up in the first film, Rhodey, Tony, best friends. One is a very dedicated military man. Tony is the lone gunman out there by himself.
We knew that we wanted Rhodey to put on the Mark II suit and that the Mark II would be the basis of War Machine.
War Machine in our film is based upon the suit that Tony builds first in Iron Man 1. He goes on his first flight, he crashes through the house, and he puts it in the Hall of Armor. Over the course of the sequel, Rhodey gets his hands on that, brings it back to the military, and the military believes that they have the rights to this armor.
Let's take it inside.
In this film, Rhodey is going to take much more ownership of not just the suit, but sort of the idea of what the suit should be for and what the duty of anyone who has that kind of awesome power, what their responsibility is to the greater good.
I don't think it should be lost on the viewers of the movie or people who read the comic books that here is this Iron Man armor that now is filled with weapons, which is sort of kind of what Tony fought against earlier on in his career, but sort of a necessary evil. And he doesn't even put himself in that armor. He puts James Rhodes in that armor because he feels he's the only guy who can make the right decisions with an armor like that. And I think that's really, what makes Rhodey such an integral character in the Iron Man mythos.
Rhodey has a different perspective on life than Tony. It's probably a little bit more about, patriotism, service, doing what you think needs to be done for everybody.
Cheadle, as James Rhodes, walks that very fine line of being a man of duty and being a friend to Tony Stark and trying to understand what Tony's ultimate motivations and goals are with the armor, but at the same time trying to do his job as a soldier of the United States Army and following orders and listening to his higher commands.
War Machine lives up to his name. It's all about offensive weaponry, whereas Iron Man has weapons, but at the same time he has many other functions in the armor. There are many other things that the armor does. War Machine is pretty much geared towards blowing you away. And he doesn't hide the weaponry. It's on his shoulders, it's everywhere. So this character is sort of a souped-up version of Iron Man with the emphasis really on the offensive weaponry and going on the attack.
You've got adapted from the comics. There are many, many different looks of all of the characters in our comics over the years. And we take what we believe are the signature looks, the markings, making it much more militarized than something Tony would design himself. Suddenly, the color differences aside, you're not going to mistake one for the other. There's a big difference between the silhouette of Iron Man and the silhouette of War Machine. And they need to have their distinct characters. Even when the masks are closed, you want to feel the different characterizations and the differences between them.
We played around with having a War Machine type suit in the first film, a Mark IV. But it was like, we don't mind combining things sometimes, but it just seemed like that should be War Machine. And so the part of it is, how is War Machine and Iron Man different? How are they competitive? What's that friendship? How is that an extension of their friendship? How does Rhodey change when he puts it on? In the comics, he actually goes mad because it's Tony's suit. We don't really go down that road, but we do show that maybe Rhodey's getting to be a little bit more of an individualist than he might have been.
You look back at Rhodey through the comic books and he is, so different in every, different iteration of who he is, depending on who the artist was, depending on who the story creator was. So it's a dynamic that continues to shift and change, and you have to try and cull the best of what all of that mythology was and try and come together with all the disparate pieces of this film and decide, okay, who is he for this movie, and what's the best, sort of combination of all of those different things that works well for this movie.
Oh man, you can have your suit back.